Hi guys, my name's Lizzie. I'm an archaeologist and come with me to dig at Cherhill.
I'm hopping in here at week 3, meaning that other trenches are quite well established. Trench 1 are starting to uncover some really cool finds at the base of their spring bed, including these incredibly rare Mesolithic hoofprints.
So this area is right next to Avebury, which is a Neolithic site, which I have previously shown in another video. But we are here to look at mainly Mesolithic. So this is the time period before the Neolithic. So far we've been pulling out a lot of blades, which are tiny weeny little tiny fragments, which are honestly outstanding that they still survive in this area. And we think that they are from a midden, which is currently in our trench 2. The midden is basically just their rubbish dumps, where they would have put their food remains and their lithic remains.
Today, we're starting right at the beginning with a brand new test pit. Once we established that we were in the right place, we had to use trigonometry, strings and pegs to lay out the test pit. My maths teachers always said that trigonometry would have real life application, but I didn't realise I'd be using it for this. Step 2, removing the turf. Once free, we pick them up and put them in a pile so that they can be relayed after we're finished with the site. As a group, we like to leave messages within our turf piles for the pilots who fly over to read. All of the best ones had already been chosen, so we went with the simple 33 for our test pit number. One of the methods that we use to figure out what might be in the test pits is core sampling, which is taken similarly to coring out an apple, but with soil. With the core, we analyse the soil type and mark at what point the soil changes into the next stratigraphic layer. Knowing this allows us to see ahead, preparing us for what we should expect when excavating. Let me show you. Beneath our topsoil, we first observe a thin layer of organic buried soil that likely persisted for a couple of decades. Beneath that is tufa, a limestone formed when carbonate minerals precipitate from water. This indicates that there was once a consistent water source in this area when the layer was formed. Just below the tufa, we have the base of our spring bed. It is within this layer in Trench 1 that we see the animal hoofprints, so finding this within our test pit gives us great hope that we will find some more here. The core sampling has helped us establish that this test pit is more likely to show similar findings to Trench 1 than Trench 2. The last layer that we have come to is called Mull. This is a very clear and light layer with no inclusions, as there was very little organic matter in the landscape when it was formed. It could even be moulded to create this little figurine.
Fourth place. Apparently flint is worse than pottery. Fake news. We've set up a nice little tarp to get some shade in.
Now that we had a rough idea of what sediment changes we could expect from this test pit, it was time to finish taking off the topsoil to prepare it to be squared and excavated. This layer contained great pieces from many different periods due to worm activity in the soil.
So one of the cool things we're finding at this site is sarsen. So this is a tiny little piece of sarsen here, and sarsen is natural to the landscape, so it's not like it's been brought here from anywhere else. But the cool thing about sarsen is that it is the stone that they made Avebury out of, the big stone circles. These megaliths are natural to the landscape, but obviously they're a lot bigger than our tiny little piece here. But it's cool that we're seeing it in the landscape here as well.
As the temperature increased close to 30 degrees, Brian came and saved us all with ice lollies and ice cream. Absolute lifesaver. Once revived, it was a sprint to the finish line to clear as much topsoil as we could before the end of the day, where I found some lovely flaked flint. Then it was time to pack up and admire my handiwork. Crazy to think that this was just a piece of field this morning.
That's the end of day one, and I'm now off home. I had a really good day. We've opened up a brand new trench. I got to do some geo-sampling, so we can now actually work out the stratigraphy of the area, and we know how deep to go. This little guy is made out of sediment that is probably around 11,000 years old. He's pretty cool. He's gonna be my new little mascot. I'm back again Wednesday to continue this dig diary, and hopefully, fingers crossed, find my arrowhead. I shall see you then. Right, off again. Today is Wednesday. It's going to be around 28 degrees in the highs, same as Monday. So we're going to be underneath an umbrella, hopefully, fingers crossed, and a little bit more sun protected today. But let's go.
Trench 1 has made significant progress since I left. They found this awesome cluster of flaked flints in a hollow surrounded by a centrepiece of ochre and this deer antler preserved in the surrounding layer of tufa. Test pit 33 was paused this morning, so I moved over to trench 31, where we were continuing taking off the squares to reveal the stratigraphy underneath. Due to the end of the dig rapidly approaching, we were now matticking and sieving the remaining squares to find the archaeology. Matticking significantly reduces digging time per square, but it does come at a cost. Its stronger force increases the chance of accidentally destroying some surprise archaeology.
Ooh. Do you hear that?
Still, through sieving, I managed to find some awesome pieces of burnt sarsen and flaked flint with beautiful percussion ripples. For show and tell, Baz brought us over his tiny Mesolithic microlith from Trench 2, and Meg brought us a potential aurochs tooth. By midday, we were all struggling with the heat, so on our lunch break, we walked down to the stream. Some people were collecting water for the trenches, while I and a couple of others were paddling around and splashing water on our faces to cool down. It was an authentic waterside experience, like our Mesolithic humans would have done around the spring in Trench 1.
It's something dry. And you dig in trench. That's what you're going to call it. Trench buster!
As the temperatures rose, we started to spray down the soil with water to better see the change in stratigraphy and soften it so we could excavate.
Are you being a cute doggo? Yeah.
Over in the corner of Trench 3, Meg was starting to find some really exciting pieces. Right in the corner was a feature that appeared initially to be a different colour from the surrounding area. Once she started to excavate, though, she found some awesome pieces of animal bone. As ancient bone is very delicate, we must be cautious when excavating to not damage the bone beyond what is already broken, so we use tiny trowels to remove the soil. Once again, Brian came at the perfect timing with ice cream, which allowed me to see Trench 2, where they think they might have found a potential human longbone. What a way to end the day. And with that, we packed up and I spotted the golden pineapple.
So we've just finished up for the day. I am now over here at West Kennet Long Barrow. I mainly dug in Trench 3 today, but I was able to take a little nosy into 1 and 2 where they found some really cool things. We found a couple of bones and some teeth in our trench today, which we're hoping may be aurochs teeth, but we don't know yet. Fingers crossed we get another good day tomorrow.
It wouldn't be a trip to Avebury without seeing West Kennet Long Barrow. That is built from local sarsen that previously had a use within their communities. If you go into the tomb, you can find a stone with a polished surface that was created by smoothing their stone tools.
So smooth.
If you want to learn more, check out my other video on the monuments in the Avebury landscape.
Right, we've made it back on site for Thursday, so this is day 3 of this week, and hopefully it's a good day. We've had a little bit of rain. I accidentally left my shoes outside my tent, so they are soaked. So fingers crossed they dry quickly and we're going to get going.
To protect the trenches overnight, we laid tarp across the precious areas, but this leads to puddles on top. If we just take the tarp off without removing the water, we would end up drowning our trenches, so it has to be removed before the tarp. This is where the petit canard comes into play. This is essentially a sponge tied to a piece of string. It is just the most fun and highly effective. Once all the water is gone, we can remove the tarp and start digging. I started off the day by levelling out my square from yesterday, ensuring that the whole square had now reached the same sediment change. Back over in the bones corner, Meg has found more bones to add to her collection, making this a really interesting assemblage on the edge of the trench. You see, Trench 3 was chosen in this position to see how far the midden extended from Trench 2. Over in Trench 2, they are all firmly in the midden layer and have uncovered some beautiful Neolithic artefacts, including this newly discovered Neolithic Peterborough pot. Trench 1 have found some equally exciting animal remains, including a jaw, pig horns, and more antlers. This is what thinking on your feet gets you in archaeology, in the form of expanding foam. We didn't expect to find these rare hoof prints here and had no plaster to take moulds, but great minds, a car, and a handyware store down the road led to a cracking solution. Back over in Trench 31, Holly and I pulled out our second favourite tool, the geosampler. This helped us determine where we should be seeing the midden and where each layer ends.
Stack now. Go. Yeah, I would call this Mesolithic buried soil because look, it gets, yeah, I think it's paler. They're very close, that's why it's quite difficult to tell. But so if it's buried soil, it'll have a sort of darker upper A horizon and it'll be a paler. It's developing on the tooth there, so it'll have a paler B horizon. Oh, it's cool.
The challenge is running forward.
So much cooler than before.
It's so nice and cool.
You can just
How you doing, Holly?
No, it's going to feel so good in a second.
After careful excavation, you could see the extent and delicacy of these finds. And to think they've survived here untouched since the Mesolithic. It's truly amazing. Compared to the other trenches, 31 was slowly progressing with sampling and digging of the squares. At this point, we were all struggling with the 30-degree heat, but that didn't stop us from enjoying ourselves and finding humour in every moment.
I'm going to kill you.
For the last part of the day, we went back to marking down some squares and enjoyed the changes in the weather. Truly a British dig. Sun one moment, thunder another. Trench 2's Peterborough pot is now looking magnificent. This pottery style, also known as impressed ware, was found within the Middle Neolithic, around 3,400 to 2,900 BC. It's categorised using its distinctive impressed dot design. Finding this gives us a good indication that the midden was used within this period. Here, Alistair is delicately reinforcing the shards with diluted PVA glue so that the pot does not disintegrate and decay upon removal.
But what I'm
What would you use as an alternative if you couldn't use that?
Well, you could use paraloid, which is probably the most common conservation method for all kinds of things. But the pot's very wet. Paraloid's not water soluble. So there'd be this competition for space within the pot with the water and the acetone that you dissolve paraloid in.
Remember that expanding foam? Well, here it is now.
Yeah.
It's done a great job at capturing the hoof prints, but now comes the delicate job of getting it home.
And
end of another really good day. We did some cool things, found some cool bits and bobs. I found one tiny little bit of oyster and that was pretty much it. We did some good marketing and good geo sampling. Woohoo!
Look, Kieran's dog does that. She brings me her donkey.
Once back at camp, we got a peek at the Mesolithic shell bead found earlier in the dig in Trench 31.
Good morning! We are off for our final day at digs and it's really early. It's like 7:10. We're really tired, but you know what? Let's get this done and let's smash it.
As today was the last day of the digs, everything had to be finished. We were lucky that the site is getting infilled by machines the following day, as this allowed us more time to dig and recover the last couple artefacts. My task today was to decimate this square in Trench 31 with a mattock. Now was not the time for delicacies, but brute force and speed. Wow, such speed! There was just one problem. The ground was rock solid. This meant mattocking, troweling, sieving, repeat. Well, I say sieving, but really I was the sieve, as there was no way these clumps were revealing any finds without a bit of pressure. If there was treasure held inside, they usually broke along the weakness they caused. More often than not, the flakes that I was finding were natural, but I did get to find these bad boys today when I wasn't recording.
So here I have a lovely flaked flint, and I just wanted to explain what we look for when we're looking at flint. So here, if I get it on an angle, you can see kind of like some ripples down this way. And you can see that there's a lump at the top. We know that it was hit right on this top platform here. It's called a bulb of percussion to make these beautiful ripples of where the energies come through the flint. So if I show you the other side, you can also see here that other parts have been flaked. If I turn here, so you can see up here the flakes come from here and the flakes also come from here, and this is previously on the core that it came from. If we take our finger to this point here, if I come up this way and back that way, I can feel that there is a difference. This side feels a lot sharper and this side feels smoother. It comes up in a wisp, whereas this one gets stuck. So that tells us that this one here was flaked first and this one flaked second, and then this one came off as a third piece with a...
Back over in Trench 1, we're starting to see some really cool stratigraphy. At this point of the day, we were all very tired and looking a little bit sunburnt. I think some of us were enjoying the sun more than others. Some more fabulous finds were coming out of the ground, like these pieces of burnt flint, this lovely piece of flaked flint, and these cracking bones.
Trench 31 is further along the midden, but is more focused on the Mesolithic. So sadly in the trench, we are finding less of the deposit, but we are finding some juicy stuff within. One of the coolest finds is a marine shell. This actually has a hole in it, so we can tell that it was worn either as a necklace or sewn onto a piece of clothing. This is one of the first shell adornments that we found in an open air site, making it one of the most important finds. Also found in the trench, we found some cool cattle bones and some other animal bones, as well as some sarsen and lots of other worked flint. Trench 2 is the site of a Middle Neolithic midden that has some evidence of the Mesolithic as well. A midden is a site of an ancient rubbish dump where they would have put animal bones, flint remains, and whatever else. This means that we can find almost anything within. The fact that we're finding a midden at this site suggests that communities used to live close by, With the soil sampling further up this hill, we are hoping that we might have even found this site. So far, with just digging into a tiny section of the midden, we've managed to find tiny Mesolithic microliths, a potential human bone, and a Peterborough pot. Trench 1 is the site of a seasonal spring that was a hub of life within the Mesolithic. We know this because we found animal prints within the clay soil that have been preserved. We found strong evidence of humans being here, from flaked flints, ochre, and other animal remains. These ranged from deer antlers, pig bones, to aurochs. Here we've also even found a whole auroch skull. This is an ancient species of cattle, which would have been way bigger than our domesticated friends today. This is an absolutely incredible trench for the Mesolithic, a one of a kind. Overall, this site is absolutely amazing and has uncovered one-of-a-kind archaeological finds. Safe to say we're definitely going to try and come back next year to see what more discoveries this site can uncover. Fingers crossed it's the year I find my arrowhead! Wow, what an amazing end to a great couple of weeks. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to Josh Pollard and Chantal for organising these digs and putting them on, and to the rest of the team for being such an amazing group. Honestly, such a great couple of weeks. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day, guys.